I'm not quite sure this Bitcoin chart could get any more exciting. Just right off the bat, I just want to note, we're getting this upper trend line being broken on the daily chart. The target to the upside is $40,000. I know to a lot of people, everybody's kind of like, not everybody, but a lot of people, kind of like, that's not going to happen with what's going on in the world. After bear markets, and we've just been putting in lower lows after lower low for so long, in these cycles of Bitcoin, believing and picturing and imagining that Bitcoin can start putting in higher highs and break out in such a way becomes very difficult for people. But time and time again, throughout the years and throughout the cycles of Bitcoin, Bitcoin manages to kind of outperform the expectations and impress people in what is possible on these charts. So the $40,000 target, I'm not sitting here saying is going to happen definitely, but we should very much monitor closely because we've seen moves like this happen time and time again. Most importantly, out of the last bear market, a 2019 move, so similar to this move that could potentially be in play right now. So I want to talk about this move. We're going to dig into the charts on the hourly and the 6 hour and talk about why right now, today is such an important day. In the next 48 hours or so, even more important. I'm going to discuss why that is. So please hit that like button, hit that subscribe, turn the notifications on, and let's just jump into this and discuss this. To lay groundwork for what is happening, and namely on the 6 hour chart, this move right here, I want to just show a quick clip from last night, really fast. But the setup is there for US dollar currency index to fall. And if this happens, Bitcoin, the setup for Bitcoin on this chart, for those bulls, the people that are bullish, it's ready, right? So this really happened very quickly because last night in that video, we were discussing the US dollar currency if it falls, US dollar currency index, if it falls from right around this area when I recorded, and it fell, right? So it fell, and it was the setup for the short-term target that we were also talking about in last night's video. I'm not going to show a clip, but this is last night's video. You can see Bitcoin at this inverse head and shoulders, just below $25,000. And we're talking about this breakout to the upside if US dollar falls to $26,000 target. Now check out how the chart played out. It played out almost perfectly, meaning we hit the target and broke above the target. And now in the short term, I want to discuss what is the most meaningful move that we should be anticipating right now, or at the very least what I'm watching for. And then I want to discuss why the next 48 hours or just over 48 hours so crucial for Bitcoin. And when we're talking about a target of $40,000 or so to the upside, we're going to discuss why the 48 hours are so important. So here's what it is. The 6 hour chart, there's the breakout of the trend line, right? Now what this does is it gives us a picture of, we get the breakout, but there's not a ton of separation from that breakout area. Meaning if you actually go and you look at the daily chart, and I want to zoom in here so we can see this, there's still 9.5 hours left on the daily, right? Meaning this Bitcoin daily candle could close below this upper trend line. In which case, if we get a wick, something like this is going to just be upper trend line resistance, meaning the breakout is not so much confirmed just yet. But the fact that it's happening, definitely a good sign, but not totally confirmed, because when we start looking at something like the 6 hour or even an hourly, there's not much separation. So this could be a wick. If Bitcoin continues to fall to the downside on the hourly, this could turn into just a big wick of resistance on the daily. And that's just something to monitor and be mindful of, I would say, as we go throughout this day. And this is what I'll be watching on the short term. Now, all the while this is happening, we're also debating and questioning, is Bitcoin going to do the unthinkable thing, which is actually just continue to the upside? In which case, we've been talking about, in this scenario where Bitcoin's getting the breakout of the upper trend line, we're talking about this $29,000 region. It's this area of kind of recent support as Bitcoin's capitulating back here, and this was in May. This was spring of 2022. Well, now Bitcoin, if it makes its way to that area after breaking out, I would anticipate some resistance there. So anything, it could be even shorter of $29,000, right? So, but $28 to $29,000 or so, Bitcoin's making a move. Then we're looking for a throwback. We go to the hourly chart, you can kind of see there's kind of a throwback happening, but this isn't the type of throwback we're looking for. This is just Bitcoin on the hourly, just grappling with the upper trend line. That's not the throwback. This channel is too big. This rising channel is too big, where we really need, for a true throwback, more separation away from the upper trend line. Remember, $40,000 target all the way up here. So we need a nice 10% plus move to the upside from the trend line break. So 10% or so would be right around 28,900. So 28,000 to $29,000. And then if we're getting that move, if Bitcoin just keeps going today, are we getting resistance and a throwback? Because when we start getting moves like that, a throwback to that area, if it were to happen, and support, then things get ultra bullish for Bitcoin, for the case for the breakout target of $40,000 to really come into play. Now, all of this is happening, right? And we already analyzed and talked about why to be careful today, why even the next 9 hours or so are important for Bitcoin. We want to see Bitcoin not put in a daily wick of resistance here. But why the 48 hours? Why is that important? We go over here, and this is a weekly chart for Bitcoin. So there's our rising channel, our upper trend line. Bitcoin's there right now. But if we actually just remove that for just a minute, and we look at what is going on with Bitcoin, just look at what just happened. This is from a macro perspective. If anybody's a long-term thinker like I am, you see why this is so important. It was just in January, Bitcoin broke back above the 20-week moving average. Now, that's an area that Bitcoin, this is a bear market area, right? So that's just like Bitcoin just sees lower lows, lower highs, resistance at the 20-week. This was a big move back in January, breaking the 20-week. But now, Bitcoin, as I do this video, is above not only the 20-week, but it's above the 50-week. And we were monitoring that resistance most recently. Bitcoin broke above the 50-week. Bitcoin right now breaking above the 200-week moving average. Right now as I do the video, it is above all three moving averages. This is incredibly important for the pivot point out of bear market and the setup for bull market. And it's happening right now. So the next 48 hours, and it's really 2 days and 10 hours, so basically 58 hours, but the next 48 hours or so important because we're going to see how Bitcoin closes. Will it close above the 200-week moving average? To the downside, for context, we're looking at just a move of around 3 to 4% to the downside, and it will not close above the 200-week. So this is why it becomes even more important as we start looking at Bitcoin on the zoomed in, and we start looking at this upper trend line, and we start looking at Bitcoin on the daily. It's why it's really important for Bitcoin to actually get a move and separation above as opposed to a wick of resistance on the daily chart, because we want to see this weekly chart succeed. I want to say this, even if Bitcoin does fall, even if the daily chart just puts in, you know what, this was a higher high of resistance, Bitcoin's falling back down to target ranges to the downside, 10, 20% dip to the downside. Even if that happens, I just want to say this. What is happening on this weekly chart? It's such a macro bullish indicator. And I just want to say that. We saw the 50-week fall below the 200-week. We said this is a picture of the worst being over. People were really kind of freaking out, some people, when this is happening. But this is a picture of how bad the bear market was, right? This isn't a picture of things to come. This is how bad it was. And so we're getting the convergence of all of these moving averages on the weekly. And so even if Bitcoin were to fall and to fail above the 200-week, and starts falling and just consolidating back down, these moving averages are converging on the weekly, and this is the pivot point, the setup for the next bull market. And we just need to keep that in mind. We want Bitcoin to do the impossible in many people's minds and just continue to a $40,000 target, a very similar move to 2019. But if it doesn't happen, I think it's valuable to take all things into context and really the bigger picture that's playing out here. Remember, if Bitcoin falls big time even, we're still putting in a higher low from the previous swing low back in November. So a lot to watch, a lot to break down as we wait to see what Bitcoin does on this short-term chart. This is a 6-hour. Here's the hourly. Will Bitcoin get separation and just a move away from that upper trend line of this huge midterm rising channel? That's what we'll be watching. Stock market, what's that going to be doing today? So far falling, important to watch. US dollar currency index, though, I think is a big one. And you can just see, is it going to see continue lower highs at this upper trend line and just continue falling? That would be huge for the Bitcoin bulls case to see a continued breakout to the upside. That's what I'll be watching today, everybody. Please hit that like button once again on your way out. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Let's see what happens with Bitcoin today. Have an awesome day. God bless.